Are you or your novel reaching your or its full potential? There could be things holding back your novel without you even realizing, just like I was held back in the third grade. Or was it the fourth grade? Oh yeah, it was the third and fourth grade. Anyway, here are some things that could be holding back your novel without you even realizing. Thing number one that's holding back your novel, you aren't building up your scenes. If you have a scene that's not working, the problem might not be the scene itself. It could be what's happening before that scene. The issue might be that you aren't properly building to that moment, and fixing that specific scene might not be the answer. I'm realizing more and more that writing a good scene, having an impactful moment in your novel, is more about everything that leads up to that scene rather than what actually happens in that scene. Say you have two characters who are about to kiss for the first time. That scene can be written really well, but if the expectations of the reader or the relationship between the characters hasn't been set up properly beforehand, then it doesn't matter how well you write the actual kissing scene if you haven't built up to it correctly. Fixing the scene doesn't involve fixing the kissing scene itself. It involves fixing everything leading up to it. You need to have the meet cute, the first awkward conversation, I've never kissed another person, so I don't really know what leads up to it. Next up, thing number two that could be holding your novel back, you're starting it at the wrong point. Should this thing have been the first one on the list? If the lives of your characters are like a giant painted canvas, then your novel is a 12 by 12 inch frame that you're putting onto some part of that canvas. We're only seeing a section of these characters' lives. There's stuff that happens before and stuff that will probably happen after. I had a tendency when I first started writing to begin stories way too early, before the exciting events happened. There would usually just be way too much of a buildup. And my writing improved substantially when I focused on shifting closer to the actually interesting events that I wanted to write about. Your novel should center around the most interesting part of the broader narrative of the world and characters that it covers. You don't want to be waiting around to get to the good stuff, and you also don't want the reader wishing they were reading about another part of your character's life. Moving where you start your novel, possibly later or earlier, might be what is missing and might be what's holding it back. If you're enjoying this video, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe so you'll get to see more content like this. I appreciate everyone who subscribes and regularly watches my videos. It means a lot to me. All right, thing number three that's holding back your novel, focusing on originality instead of using what works. I don't want to get into the whole debate about whether you can actually create an original story. We've had that debate before, and I don't think there's anything new I can say about it. I would just be repeating myself. There is a reason that tropes and plot structures and character archetypes exist. It's because they work a lot of the time. They can become overused and tired and poorly implemented, and they can make your work derivative. But the simple fact is that a lot of this stuff that gets used in multiple works is used in multiple works because it works so well. It makes logical sense that if something works in one story, it will work in another story. Now, there is a lot of value to exploring outside the bounds of established storytelling convention, but a voyage into those waters means you might be headed towards something that doesn't work, like an iceberg or some rocks or something. I think setting out to write a story based on tropes or plot structures usually doesn't work out that well. That's how you end up with a generic derivative novel. I do, however, think that it can be useful to use tropes or plot structures if you encounter a problem in your story. I don't mean that you should throw a bunch of plot structures at your novel if it isn't working, but rather you should examine your novel in light of something like a plot structure and see where they match up. If you have a novel that's not working, it has some kind of problem in the plot that you just can't figure out, if you take something like the hero's journey and find that your novel does like 7 of the things that the hero's journey tells you to do, but it doesn't do 11 other things, it's possible that adding in some of the beats that you're missing could be the answer to fixing your novel. Not always, but it's a good place to start. Conventions around tropes and character types should not be used as a template to write a novel, but they can be a useful tool if things aren't going well. Next up, thing number 4 that could be holding your novel back, it lacks a clear premise. I'm using the word premise here to refer to the central idea of your novel, the elevator pitch, if you would, for it, although I usually take the stairs. This is not quite the theme, it's not quite a synopsis, and exactly what it is going to vary depending on the novel. The Count of Monte Cristo is about revenge and whether revenge is something that mankind should pursue. Brave New World is about a pacified world led by authoritarianism. Twilight is about sparkly teenagers who are vampires or werewolves or something. Every novel has this kind of central premise, this central guiding idea around it, something that all of the elements of the novel can point towards. This is something that helps you understand your story, a way to decide what should go into it and what should come out of it, a way to decide what your writing should be focused on. It might be something related to a character, it might be a central question you want to pose, a what if sort of thing. It might just be a mood or a feeling you want to convey. The premise of your novel is going to depend on the novel that you want to write. When you find the premise within your idea and cut away anything that doesn't advance that premise, you'll usually improve your novel. It will make it more clear what you should be adding and what you should be removing. It will help to add a degree of coherency to the narrative. If you have a story that just kind of feels scattered or it doesn't feel like it has a direction, it could be that you're missing a good premise. And lastly, thing number 5 that's holding back your novel, baggage. I still have no idea how my bags ended up in Denver. Why would they go to Denver? Admit it, you have at least one scene in your novel that you know shouldn't be in there, but you really, really like it, so it's not going anywhere. Writing is as much about destroying as it is creating, and the thing so often destroyed is something that you like. I had more to say about this, but I decided just to cut a bunch of it out. Your novel should absolutely be something that you enjoy. You should be writing about things you enjoy. You should like the characters that you're writing about. But this affection that you have for the various parts of your story should not come at the expense of that story. The thing you should most be in love with should be your central premise and the central idea that you're trying to get through the story. And anything that doesn't aid that premise should be cut away. Sometimes this can result in actually completely changing the focus of your novel. You might have set out to write a novel focused on one thing, but actually fall in love with something else. And if that something else is just extra baggage and doesn't really fit, then keeping it in there is not going to be a good idea. You'll see all kinds of quotes about this, about kill your darlings, and Steinbeck talks about being aware or cautious about scenes that become more dear to you than the rest of the scenes in your novel, and that's all really good advice. Sometimes the thing that's holding back our writing are the things that we refuse to get rid of, whether it's a scene, whether it's a character, whether it's a plot point. These are things that, as painful as it is, you need to get rid of them if you want your writing to improve. Speaking of getting rid of things, the video is almost over, so you're getting rid of me, I guess? So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found the advice in it useful. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can check out all my other writing advice related videos and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.